All right, let's dive right in. We're going to tackle a question that is honestly timeless. It's a puzzle that has shaped entire civilizations, and it really gets to the heart of the relationship between a government and its people.
I mean, think about it. Why do we obey our rulers? It sounds so simple, right? But it's actually one of the most fundamental questions you can ask about how we organize ourselves as a society. Is it some kind of moral duty, a practical necessity, or something else entirely? Well, thinkers throughout history, especially within Islamic political thought, have come up with some wildly different answers, and that's exactly what we're getting into today.
So, we're going to frame this whole thing as a kind of intellectual showdown. In one corner, you've got this classical, almost scientific view that looks at power like it's a natural phenomenon. And in the other corner, a modern, ideological perspective that lays out exactly how power should work, based on a very specific reading of Scripture. Okay, let's meet our two main contenders. What's so interesting here is that they represent two totally different ways of looking at the world. One is trying to describe reality as it is, while the other is trying to shape reality into what it believes it ought to be. So, on one side, you have the legendary Ibn Khaldūn, this brilliant 14th century sociologist. His big question wasn't about what the rules should be, but how does power actually work out there in the real world? He was an observer, a true analyst. Then, on the other side, we have the contemporary Madkhali movement, and they're asking a completely different question. How should power work according to our interpretation of the religious texts? It's a prescriptive, ideological approach. So let's get right to it. Round one, where does a ruler's authority actually come from in the first place? This is where you see the first major split between our two perspectives. Sir Ibn Khaldun, the answer wasn't in a library. It was on the ground, with the people. He zeroed in on this key social force he called ḥasabiyya. The best way to think about it is like social glue. It's that powerful feeling of group solidarity, that shared purpose that holds a tribe or a nation together. It's the raw collective energy of a community. And his theory of how this works is just brilliant. It's a cycle, really. First, a group with that super strong ḥasabiyya, that social glue, comes together. Then, that feeling of solidarity gets even more intense, giving them the strength to challenge the powers that be. Eventually, they win, they take over, and they start a whole new dynasty. See, for Ibn Khaldun, power isn't just handed down from on high, it's built from the ground up through the unity of the people. And this is the really crucial part. Ibn Khaldun didn't see this as some messy, ugly political struggle. No, as you can see from this quote, he actually saw this group feeling as essential. It was the engine that allowed a community to function and, do what God expects of it. It's a natural, necessary force. Now, let's flip the script. The Madkhali school gives a totally different answer. For them, a ruler's legitimacy doesn't come from group solidarity. It's a religious command, period. The whole point of having a ruler is to act as a shield against fitna. And that's the key word here. Fitna means chaos, civil war, the total breakdown of society. So authority is a top-down requirement to keep order. Okay, so this brings us to the next big question. If the source of power is so different in these two views, what does that mean for everybody else? For the people being ruled, what's their main job? To obey or to question? Well, from the Madkhali perspective, the answer is crystal clear. The number one religious duty of the subject is obedience to the ruler. Why? To prevent that dreaded fitna. Publicly criticizing the ruler is a huge no-no because it's seen as a direct path to division and chaos. And ideas like democracy, they're rejected as foreign innovations that mess with the proper God-given order. But Ibn Khaldun, our analyst, he would have looked at this completely differently. For him, this wasn't a one-way street of just obey, obey, obey. It was a practical two-way relationship. Think about it. If a ruler is unjust, steals people's property, and is totally oppressive, well, people lose their motivation to work. The economy tanks, the state's tax revenue dries up, and boom, the ruler's power crumbles. The whole dynasty starts to decay. So for him, justice wasn't just some nice moral idea, it was a basic requirement for the state's survival. Now, this is not just some dusty historical debate. These ideas have huge, real-world consequences. They are actively shaping politics and conflicts happening right now, today. So, according to reports from organizations like the Crisis Group, this Madkhali ideology is a seriously potent political force. In a place like Libya, for example, followers of this school have become really influential inside key security groups, using their power to push a specific social agenda and to back the authorities in charge. It's a direct line from this ideology of obedience to boots-on-the-ground power. And some sources make a pretty striking comparison to show just how exclusionary this can be. A group like Daesh is known for using takfir. That's when you declare another Muslim a disbeliever. The Madkhali school, on the other hand, is known for its heavy use of tabdīb, which is declaring other Muslims to be dangerous innovators. Now, the methods are different for sure, but critics argue that the result can be similar. You end up excluding and delegitimizing anyone who doesn't follow your super strict interpretation of the faith.
So as we start to wrap this up, let's put these two visions side by side one more time. Because what we're really looking at here isn't just two different opinions, it's two completely different ways of understanding what power even is. On the one hand, Ibn Khaldūn gives us this dynamic, cyclical view of history. Power rises and falls because of real, measurable social forces like ḥasabiyya. It's like a science of how societies work that you have to observe and understand. The Madkhali vision, by contrast, is static. It's prescriptive. It gives you a fixed set of rules from the texts. The ruler is there to keep order, and your job is to obey. One is basically a diagnosis of society, and the other is a prescription for it.
And that leaves us with one last massive question to think about. In Ibn Khaldūn's model, there's a kind of built-in accountability system, right? If you're unjust, your state will eventually fall apart. But in a system where obedience is the highest virtue and you're not allowed to publicly criticize the ruler, what stops that decay from happening? Who holds the ruler accountable? It's a question that is at the very center of the debate over power and authority, not just in the past, but right here, right now.